This is a show which gets you a complete
returns from the overall investment point of view, from the shareholders' point of view. On the EPC and projects, the sides, depending on the growth, depending on the kind of projects that we get, we do our regular capital expenditure, and that's an ongoing process. And that's a decent business to have. The EPC and the projects business, as most of you are aware, are the riskier part of the portfolio, though it is the bulk of our portfolio. It's got contracts which are tough, and much of L&T's staff and stakeholders, including our workmen, are used to sweating it out to see that we do our best to put up these momentous projects, some of the largest, biggest, tallest, and some of the huge projects that we do, both in India and other parts of the world, and thereby earn the returns therein. That business, as most of you know, is that in the region of sometimes 6 to 7%, sometimes around 6% PAT. The board, the chairman, has all along been advising us to look for opportunities on the services side, and which has been the direction that the management has also been seeking to look at. Over the last few years, we've been giving more fillip, management interest, and push into a services business, which on a broader scale is LTI, which is a listed company, L&T Infotech as we used to call it, LTS, which is our technology services business. And if you want to add into the services portfolio, it is L&T Finance, which is again a listed company, and our reality business, if one would like to call it a service business. In our language, we call it a services business. So these businesses have grown well over the last few years. Full credit to the management therein, and also to the L&T parent connect, leverage, and leadership as we see it. These businesses are, from the inherent nature of these businesses, more profitable, and we are able to see PAT of 15 to 16% therein. And as we look forward, we see that that's the kind of profitability that is available in that business. The contracts are less risky. And from an overall portfolio point of view, it makes sense to grow the business a little more faster than the other businesses, if this business can be grown faster. About a few years back, the management of the concerned company that we're looking at now, Mindtree, did approach us. We were not very particular at that time for various reasons. We were concentrating on the heavy capex that we were making on the manufacturing side. And within L&T, the succession planning was going on. And therefore, I don't think we had much views on the same. Recently, about 3 months back, Vijay Siddharth, promoter of Cafe Day, and one of the significant shareholders of Mindtree, did approach us and looked at us and requested us to, and asked us whether we would be interested in looking at his 21% odd shareholding in Mindtree. As a conservative company, as a company with its views of how we go about business as such, the immediate reaction was neutral, and we continued to dialogue with him. Mr. Siddharth is an involved person in the sense he's been part of the Mindtree shareholding since about 19 years. He's part of one of the original promoters of Mindtree, if one would like to call it, in that sense, as an investor. And there's a lot of emotion and a sense of pride with him that this company, which he has made the investment a long time back, is today reached a certain level. And therefore, from his point of view, the shareholding that he had, he wanted to house it with a set of people or with a group in which he saw the same type of governance values, principles, ethics of business, and somebody who will look at it in the way he had looked at it, from a long-term perspective and a good sportsmanship point of view from that sense. He is emotional about it, and as one would know, we are emotional owners of L&T in that sense, and we looked at it after some 3-4 rounds of meeting in the same manner. So from our point of view, it was more a lookout at how to buy out a shareholding, which if we had not taken a look at, would anyway have gone to somebody else because Mr. Siddharth, for his reasons of business and finance, was intent on selling the shareholding in the market as much as we could understand. It was an opportunity, if one would like to look at it like that. It was a meeting of minds, so one could say that. It was, from our point of view, a business, from our IT portfolio services point of view, made enormous sense. L&T Infotech, our IT company, or LTI as we call it today, is predominant in the banking, manufacturing, oil and gas, and insurance kind of business. Mindtree is into CPG, retail, hospitality, travel, and the technology space. So for us, it made enormous sense from that point of view. So once the meeting with Mr. Siddharth started progressing on the lines of what could have been an investing opportunity for us, we said we would take a deeper interest into this. And that's what we have done at the moment by signing the share purchase agreement with Mr. Siddharth. We had, as is expected of us, also had dialogue with the management. The senior people in the management are, if I can say that, personal friends, good people, men of repute, and who have done their best to get Mindtree to where it is today. And therefore, we feel a lot of positivity and sync in the way to go forward. Obviously, when a promoter, founders, over a period of time, find that one of the important promoters or initial investors moves out and wants to place his stakeholding in another house or in another matter, there are certain emotionalities and trepidations involved. And that's visible as we see it. But business is business. Emotions do play a part, but emotionalities have to be overcome as we go forward. What we are trying to do is with, if I can use the word, pyar. And we will continue to look at it as something which we are doing from our dil. And we would like and intend to take it forward in the same manner and purpose. We look at all our business as independent businesses. Some of you who come to many of our quarterly presses know that we call even our internal divisions as ICs, independent companies. Myself and Shankaraman are at best only two people, as much as I know, who are involved in all our businesses. In that sense, it's an oversight at 50,000 feet, if I can say. The individual ICs, verticals, or subsidiaries, associates are run independently by the chief executives concerned. Some of them are listed, have their own boards who take their own decisions. We at best play a board oversight and give some L&T connects, value additions, and leverage as should be done by any major promoter investor. I would like to take this presser to reassure Mindtree, its management, its board of directors, all its employees and well-wishers and stakeholders, that this is an 80-year-old company. It's got some of the highest governance values. Chairman is a legend, is an heroic gentleman. Not many of you would know, Hall Klassen is a Padma Bhushan, one of the highest civilian awards. One of our directors, Mr. Anumolu Ramakrishna, who headed the construction part, received Padma Bhushan posthumously. Present Group Chairman, Mr. Naik, is a Padma Bhushan awardee, and recently was awarded Padma Vibhushan, the highest civilian award. It shows the culture that we have. It shows the principles that we believe in. It shows the governance that we have. It shows the value systems that we have. And it shows how and what L&T is all about. The people in L&T, or many of them, I just did a statistics, 35% of our employees are over 25, 30 years. We have 113,000 employees. And that's the way we have cultured and brought it up, and many of them will go to have very long-term services within the company. Mindtree, with our investment there, will be run as an independent company with its board, with its management. And what L&T at best would do is to provide board oversight, management connects, value additions, benefits. That is our purpose and intent right now, and that's our purpose and intent as we look forward immediately. We feel this is a good addition to the overall L&T portfolio. We hope and believe and trust that Mindtree management, its board, its stakeholders, its employees will look at it very positively. It's probably the best home in the country as we see it. An emotional shareholder, for reasons of his growth and finances, wanted to house it in a safe house. And I think from our point of view, we have done the right thing in getting hold of it. And we intend to take it forward in the same manner as it has been done right, as Mindtree has been run right now, with the same purpose, with the same beliefs, with the same cultures, with the same value systems. I think I've given an oversight as I see it, open to the...
Mr. Subramanian, our first question is...
It is now open to the floor to ask the questions. Ladies first, ladies first.
Breakdown of relationship SNS when it comes to Mindtree promoters, because a lot has been said in the public domain while you're still singing the tune of Pyar and Dil at this point. So do you think there is a turnaround that can really come about in this particular relationship, and you can still have the management and the promoters run the company while you are envisaging an independent Mindtree even after you acquire it?
What one can say at the point of time is that we have taken an interest in Mindtree. We have, as per rules, have to go for an open offer, which we have done. We had to go for acquiring 15% of the stake because we need to have minimum 26%, other our board would have a problem as to why have we invested. And once we do that, we naturally have to go for an open offer, for which we have applied for permissions to the CCI and such. Now, Mr. Krishna Kumar continues to remain a very personal friend. And he will continue to remain a personal friend. Now, in the matters of business, how things pan out, we hope that better sense, better maturity, better rationality prevails, and we are sure that that will be the one that as we go forward.
Mr. Subramaniam, Sajid here from Bloomberg Quint. My question to you is that why haven't you done this acquisition through L&T Infotech? And secondly, you're investing nearly 10,700 crores in this acquisition and taking your stake up to 66 if open offer is successful. How does it bring synergies for L&T? Because it's non-core to L&T. Of course, you have the broader framework of increasing your services revenue, but then you should be using services companies which are independent to go for that rather than through L&T shareholder. And what happens to the buyback? 9,000 crores which you promised to the shareholders.
I think one question at a time, because I'm not so super intelligent to remember 10 questions at one point of time. Let me answer one question by one question. The fundamental way L&T goes about its business is to keep businesses as verticals, absolutely focused, objective on its ways and means of going about business. Construction, for example, most international companies have one setup, whereas we have buildings, transportation, etc. Why? The CEO of buildings concentrates on that business and does what is right from that business point of view from today, from tomorrow's point of view. It brings in high focus, it brings in objectivity, clarity, and he just drives his business with whatever talent, etc., that he wants. Now, LTI is a listed company with its board of directors, with L&T having 75%, and run independently with its own chief executive and management. They're doing well. It's probably one of the best performing IT companies. Technology services is focused on the engineering part of it, doing well, run by its own management, board of directors. L&T is again, I think 75%, if not, it will become now. As per rules, we have to do that, and is run as independently as possible. They're doing well, both the companies. LTI, as I said, is predominant on the banking, on manufacturing, oil and gas, insurance, and such aspects. Mindtree, as you see, its business is on CPG, retail, hospitality, travel, and technology businesses. Both have had different backgrounds. Broadly, cultural value systems, governance may be the same, but both have had different backgrounds. So it's our intent to keep both of them separate, and we play a part, as we play a part in all our listed subsidiaries as board oversight, and whenever they want, leverage and use L&T Connects to further enhance business as well as shareholder value. That is the intent and purpose. Now, if we had invested through LTI, LTI is a 15-16% PAT company. I would have had to leverage LTI's balance sheet. We would have had to defocus the management from its performance into looking at integration, and such are the issues right now, which is not our main purpose as we see it. Our purpose is to expand our portfolio in the services business. There are many ways to do it, many options to do it. And one of the options was to take an interest from a shareholder who was interested to move out of Mindtree, get into Mindtree from that aspect and point of view, and to show that we are steadfast, we are L&T, and to build up the relationship and to see what part we can pay to grow that portfolio. So that is the way we looked at it, and that's the way we have moved forward. Now, buyback was an option available with us with the money on hand. Buyback was giving money to the shareholders to enhance the shareholder value. L&T, if you see from 99 or 2000, we have increased shareholder value 90 times, including dividends, bonus, etc., etc. There are many ways to enhance shareholder value. On the buyback, as I told you, we had a setback which we did not expect. It happens. We'll continue to pursue that whenever that happens, because we are a profitable and a cash-making company. Having said that, the key objective is to enhance shareholder value. The same of you sitting here are asked this many times. You have cash on hand. What are your future investments? And how are you going to increase shareholder value with your investments? So here's an opportunity to invest in a services company. We believe it's got a good management. We believe it has got great people employed with it. We believe that this company is fairly up there when it comes to digital, cloud, and consulting practices. It's a good investment to have done, to have been made into. And that's the way we look at it, and that's the way we looked at it and took it forward.
Sir, you claim that...
It's
a follow-up to the question.
Let's go one by one, please.
So I think Neha, please go for the question.
Okay.
After Neha, you.
I'm very convinced about how this will pan out here in terms of continuity and integration. How do you assuage these concerns, considering that the analysts have been pretty vocal about what they see as a hostile takeover of Mindtree at this juncture?
This hostile word, we are not coined it. We are with Dil and Pyar, as she correctly said. And that's the way we look at it.
But the board of Mindtree feels so.
So having said that, I can't comment on other boards. It's not fair on my part. What I can do, I can comment on. I have looked at it with Dil and Pyar. And that is the way we will look at it. We are not thought through integration or any such process. It's an investment.
That can be critical for stakeholders, especially clients and employees of Mindtree, because integration is really what will affect them.
We are not planning integration. Mindtree will be kept as Mindtree.
For how long?
We have no idea. I cannot predict 3 years hence, 5 years hence. Things keep changing in the business world, and one has to be a good manager to keep changing with times. At the moment, it's purely an investment. Having done an investment, one needs to have some minimum criteria from the principles that we have, from the board criteria that we have, resolutions that we have. We will do that. And one has to be positive in life, and life is about being positive, and we look at it from that point of view and take it forward.
Mr.
Subramaniam, आपसे दो सवाल
I
होंगे.
think
Vijay
please regulate the
first.
question.
First Vijay.
Vijay Iyer from BTVI. So a couple of things. One, as you're saying, is it then from a short to medium term perspective, this would remain a standalone entity? As you are saying, the whole objective is not for, say, we could have, why you would not look at L&T Infotech to buy this stake? So would, from a medium to short term perspective, you're assuring that this would remain as a standalone entity as Mindtree? And secondly, any talks that you have already had with, or any openings with the institutional investors and with the other promoters, where this whole debate is now coming in, whatever they are saying, any channel of communication still open with them, or clearly this is a reality that you're going to live with, that they will be there as promoters with whatever 13% remaining they have, and as and when the open offer gets completed, you will be at whatever stake you are?
I'm just trying to decipher your questions, but having said that, I think let's not be very speculative and add comments and such. We have bought the shareholding of an involved shareholder, and we have stepped into it as a share purchase agreement. There are various steps and regulatory process to be crossed over. We will do that, and let's be positive about how this thing moves. We will keep Mindtree by short term, medium term for some time to come as Mindtree, and that's the way we look at it.
Brajesh from Zine Business.
तो दो सवाल होंगे. एक सवाल ये तो कि 980 रुपए की आपने जो एक प्राइस लिमिट तय की है, क्या इसको अगर जरूरत पड़ी तो आगे बढ़ाया जाएगा? एक सवाल ये है. और दूसरा सवाल ये है कि जो L&T का बायबैक का प्लान था पहले, क्या वो अब भी रहेगा, या आपने कहा कि आपने कैश इन्वेस्ट कर दिया है, एक जगह पे इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं, तो शायद अब नहीं करेंगे?
So look at it, buyback जैसे हमने आपको बताया था, we were serious about it. हमने अप्लाई तो किए थे, for various reasons. SEBI had a view on it. It's fine. It was a bit of a setback, but we will continue to be positive on it. We are a positive company. We are doing reasonably well. We continue to generate cash from our operations, so we look at it from that point of view. So we will, at the appropriate time, subject to the guidelines getting altered, reapply if it is so required. Why was buyback thought about? Let me re-answer that question. Ultimately, a company runs with the shareholders' money. So one of the principal objectives of any business is to reward its shareholders. You reward the shareholders in many forms. Investing in business, getting good returns, buybacks, dividends, bonuses, whatever it is. One of the options we thought about is buyback. If there is a window opening, if there's a possibility, we'll continue to look at it. Okay, that is one. The number two question is, one of the other options was to invest this money somewhere and to generate returns out of it. And the option that is available in front of us, we have chosen. हम जा रहे हैं वो रास्ते पे, देखते हैं किधर जाते हैं.
Pricing का सवाल बाकी है. 980 rupees का जो आपने.
If you take the 6 months weighted average price and put a premium to it, it comes to 980, and that is how we took that forward. So whatever we do is based on the guidelines and the rules and regulations that are foreseen, that are available, and we will follow that strictly.
नहीं, Mindtree अगर वापस बायबैक लाता है आपसे ज्यादा ऊंची कीमत पे, तो क्या आप और ज्यादा कीमत देने को तैयार होंगे? ये आपने ऑप्शन ओपन रखा है?
It is speculative now. I cannot comment on that.
Next question is coming from Rachita, Economic Times.
Rachita from Economic Times. Hi. Couple of things. I mean, to begin with, you are saying it's not hostile, but on the face of it, it looks like it's one-sided love right now. So how are you taking things ahead in terms of our dialogue still on? Because even if you want this investment, as you're putting it, to work as a separate entity, for the current management to be active and for the employees to be on the right side for you, there has to be some kind of dialogue. So A, how are you taking that forward? B, if Mindtree is going to run as a separate entity, how are you going to address conflict of interest? Because there would be some businesses, I mean, where both the entities, L&T Infotech and Mindtree, would be interested. And the third question, again, I'm going back to the buyback point that somebody else also raised, that in an eventuality that Mindtree actually looks at a buyback, would you be comfortable with the kind of stake you have if it doesn't go up to a controlling stake? Would you be comfortable with it?
Okay, first question on employees. Please understand what we have done here is, I think, very significant and important for all of you to understand. The money that L&T has put in is very important for us from many points of view. This is the blood, sweat, toil, tears, emotions, and passions of thousands of L&T employees. This is the money earned through doing tough projects, some of the tallest, biggest, most complex projects in this part of the world. This money is earned through risky contracts, tough working environments, people sweating and boiling over to get things done. We use bulldozers and cranes, but we do things that make the nation very proud. We are a national company. And therefore, when you take a significant amount of money from the balance sheet and invest it, we are very conscious of what we have done. And we are also equally emotional and sentimental about what we have done. And therefore, to protect this money, to earn a return on investment out of it is extremely important for us. There are many options available for investment. And we, based on a particular shareholder who was very keen to invest his shareholding in a house which he believed carries the value system that he believed was appropriate to that company, is what we have gone with. Let us not designify that point. It's an important point. Now, maybe it is possible that few others don't think in the same way. But when you look at us, that's what we are. It's an 80-year-old company. It went public in 1952, and it has paid dividend every year since then, and each year's dividend is higher than the previous year's dividend, and there are not very many companies with that kind of track record in the entire globe, in the entire world. And that is what Larsen & Toubro is all about. And therefore, when we do this, we are also equally passionate, committed, and will go out of our way to make this investment succeed. From my point of view, I'm very clear. I'm a personal friend of Mr. Krishna Kumar, will continue to be so. And my investment, or our investment, if I can say that, from Larsen & Toubro, is purely from the point of view of Pyar and Dil. Now, one has to realize the significance of this investment because it provides Mindtree a total protection against any other hostile takeover, any other forms of investment which may not be akin to what they want. We come with a track record, we come with value systems, we come with the governance. We have a board which is 22 members with some very, very eminent people involved inside. And the decision has been taken with the full blessings of my group chairman and the full involvement of our board. Therefore, it was not a decision taken just like that, it's an involved decision. Now, one has to see value in that, one has to see purpose in that, one has to be matured about it, and one has to take it forward like this. L&T, when I said, has got 114,000 odd employees, it's a significant statement again because we give employment to so many people. I'm not talking about 300,000 odd workers who work with us. And therefore, for us, that we are perceived as a national company who gives such employment and who are beholden to our shareholders for trusting us to take this forward is important from us from a management point of view. Having said that, it is the same value systems and propositions that we are bringing into Mindtree with our investment. And if given a chance, we'll take it further up and forward and would like to keep it like that. Your questions on conflict of interest and such, please understand, Rachita, that in the globe and even in India, there are groups and houses which have multiple IT companies for various reasons, for the purpose of focus, for the purpose of technology, maybe for the purpose of business, maybe for the purpose of financial reasons. Tatas have got the same, Mahindras have got the same, the Hindustas have got the same, the HCLs have got the same. L&T, by the way, has got 2 IT companies. Of course, my colleagues in TS who don't like to be called IT, they're technology services. So we have an LTI and LTS in the business, in the globe, running 2 businesses, roughly about $2 billion, and they're doing very well. There are matured minds around to sort out conflict of interest or client-related problems, and there will be in this business. In the rest of L&T's business also, at times there are conflict of interest or client disconnect, and there are matured people in the system to sort out this matter. So between LTI, LTS and Mindtree, if there are conflict of interest or such matters to come by, if at all, as I see, there are varied businesses, but if at all, there will be, I'm sure, matured minds to sort it out, because the entire idea and proposition is to enhance shareholder value, to create value benefits, to create positivity, and to create a good atmosphere of how business is done than anything else. And that's what the purpose and objective would be.
The next question is from Amrita. Amrita from Business Standard. Sajid, we will take the second question later.
Which is, you said that the merger will not be happening till both entities reach $5 billion of revenues. And that's what the... one of the brokerages just come out and said,
let me come in here. It's not fair for you to direct that question to Mr. Subramaniam. You'll have to direct it to me because I took the analyst call, right? Now,
they allow anyone else to come on the call, so we don't know who to tell.
That was for analysts.
No, since we are meeting you in person, we thought that's much better audience than speaking to you on the phone, okay? Now that what was asked was, is there a timeline and a milestone? And what was answered was like this, that both the companies are about $1 billion, thereabouts. We see enough headroom for growth in their respective paths they have chosen. From whatever we could see, the overlap and the conflicting zones are minimalistic. Even within the few clients that they work together with, one is working at one end of the solution, the other is working at the other end of the solution. If at all, I see synergy in such a situation of deeply mining the relationship rather than conflicting. So, the next question was then, when do you think this will ever lead to a conflict? I said, at $1 billion each, I don't see conflict. Maybe at $5-6 billion, when they grow respectively, they possibly could begin to look at each other's turf more closely. When they have grown to their full potential and the growth lies across the fence, is when we possibly might even have to look at the viability of such a platform. Doing anything the way the responses have been in the media, doing anything in a rushed manner on some timeline which is artificial, will go to destroy shareholders' value. One of the primary reasons why we have also decided to keep the entities separate is keeping in mind the interests of the minority shareholders. One of the purposes why this became attractive to L&T was the relative upside to earnings and margins potential that the respective businesses have. We've been running LTI with an EBITDA margin of 20% and PAT to revenue at about 16%. They weren't there on day one. They were at 5, 4, 6%, and through efforts, they've been brought up. So we've got a track record of working on levers which could generate value. We see such an opportunity existing in Mindtree. Suppose I were to merge right on day one, or as you said, invest out of LTI balance sheet, apart from the points that Mr. Subramaniam spoke about, distraction, management bandwidth, etc., it could also lead to compromise of minority shareholders' interest. Because when you blend a company with lower profitability with a company with a higher profitability, the minority shareholders of the company with higher profitability will begin to feel the heat of the merged lower profitability. So it is very important for us to keep all shareholders' interests in mind. We had to grow these businesses to their potential. And at a point when we will realize that it is good to combine is when we will do. And that markets and developments would decide rather than some preconceived speculative time-bound action. This is exactly the answer that was given. If analysts have not understood this and come out and said, thanks for giving us an opportunity to clarify once again.
But margins, is that something that will define it, because LTI has a higher margin than Mindtree has at the moment? Is that one of the defining factors?
It's an important value creation lever. If a company, when you buy an asset, you begin to look at it as to what is the upside potential in that investment. And the upside potential comes from scale, it comes from competitiveness, it comes from client reach, and it comes from profitability. We do see all the four potentially at play when emotions die down. Today, what you see in the market is reactions. They are not responses. The inevitability of the situation will begin to settle down these sentiments. Now, let me complete. What do? We have a certain shareholding structure within the company, and there are X number of shareholders with X percentage of shareholding. There are Y number of shareholders with Y shareholders. Now, we need to find an interplay. Now, resistance, which is understandable from the point of view of 20 years track record, etc., will possibly give in to reason. And like one of them said, it's one-sided love. We have seen enough in the movies where one-sided love has become completely compelling two-sided love, and the family lives happily ever after.
Can I take the question, Sajid?
I will tell you this. It's an important question, and we deliberated a lot on this. Look at the scenario. Today, L&T's balance sheet has about 16,000 crores of cash. And this cash is being invested in temporary treasury products, waiting for the right opportunity to invest. Now, these are earning post-tax 5% return on investment. Mindtree acquisition at the current price does not dilute this yield in the current balance sheet. So as far as ROE is concerned, we are ROE neutral on this transaction to start with. To the point of potential for value enhancements, that would happen and play out in the due course. Then it becomes ROE accretive. Now, because we are dealing with surplus cash lying in the balance sheet, it does not derail our plan for ROE enhancement, which we have announced to the market. That between 2016, when we started at 9% ROE, to 2021, when we want to reach 18% ROE, there is a roadmap that we have developed. Every 90 days, I come and report to you about what we have done to move towards it. Today, as I speak, we are at 15 in terms of ROE. We need to find our path between 15 and 18. Hopefully, it will happen. And this, being ROE neutral transaction, does not derail that broader plan.
How does the entire thing, while you have worked towards the ROE plan which you were talking about, there's also risk associated with the big acquisition at 10,700 crores. What is the risk which you factor in this acquisition?
If transactions were to be taken as is where is, if the
objections coming from the board which is there, which also comes in.
Yeah.
How does it play out for you?
Fair enough. See, we can either assume that tomorrow morning entire employee, let me also have my word. I am also now speculating with you. Now all employees go home, refuse to come to work. All promoters say, fine, enough is enough. The company comes to a grinding halt. Now, that's one scenario you can plan. There is nothing that you can, you can say your return has gone down the tube. But that's not the way businesses are run. When businesses are being run, you take a case of what happens if things stay status quo. And given the fact our approach has been to maintain continuity in either client relationship or business practices or management structure, at the current rate at which they are growing, this would provide a base minimum yield for the company. And which is what I said, it is ROE neutral. If you start assuming that things will get better over time, it starts adding to value. So from ROE neutral to ROE accretive, depending on the way events play out, you could have either same to better situation panning out in terms of financial returns for L&T. If everything goes well to a plan, we do expect this return to double in 5 years' time. And maybe we will have a presser then to tell you that our belief when we make this investment has played out.
We'll take a question now from Amrita because there are others also who would like to. Sajid, please request you to. Please give others a chance.
Nisha, can I take the question, please?
Just one.
No, I'm not. Because I have waited for this turn. No,
please.
Darling. Let's show some dilemma.
Come, please, yeah.
So, in your early part of your opening remarks, you mentioned spent a lot of time explaining how services seems to be more profit-making, less riskier, higher margins compared to your EPC business. Is this a hub anchor to the next decade of L&T, which has so far been referred as engineering conglomerate, moving the services side?
You should be with us on the strategic planning. Yeah, I think let's look at it from that point of view. When I make these statements, it doesn't mean that overnight the profile of the company is going to change. Every thoughtful measure that is done is bound to result in something in the future. What we're trying to tell you is that the EPC and projects business, the EPC construction and projects business are now about 70% of the company. And there is the manufacturing, which includes defense, and the services part, which are the rest. Manufacturing, defense are 5%, so let's say 75, and the rest is services. Now, we are not told the EPC or project business to grow any slower. They are growing at a good rate, and as we see it, there are prospects. We are entering more geographies, etc., from Middle East, a little bit we've gone into Africa, looking at Far East, so on and so forth. You're aware of some of these strategies. So that will go on because there are people in that business, they have their own ambitions, aspirations, so we'll push that. But at the same time, at our level, at management, when we look at the overall profiling of the company, as I said, in the last decade or so, much of the heavy investments that needs to be done to propel the sector into further and future growth have been done by us. As we see it, we don't see any major factories or big manufacturing unit to be put up. The capex would be there for the EPC business and the projects business. We'll continue to provide them. That depends on the number of projects, the kind of projects that we get. So that's a regular capex which is out of their earnings, etc. We'll continue to do that. At the same time, overall, the company does generate surplus cash. And one looks at it from the point of view as management as what should we do as managers today to invest into the future so that it benefits the shareholders as we look into the future and the employees as we look into the future from an overall company point of view. As we look at it, services seems to be a good option to look at. One can look at hindsight and say we didn't get into retail, we didn't get into telecom. Maybe God has been kind to us, blessing in disguise as we look at it. But having said that, the services area is still available for us. We had looked at it earlier. Mr. Naik was fantastic enough to push the company into services in the early part of his CEO-ship. And he got LTI and LTS running, which are today significant in size from that point of view. Now, this business, as it grows forward and as it enters into bigger contracts, if I could say so, has to have size, has to have visibility, has to have respect. Now, that is what we are looking at. What benefits Mindtree would also get in this is, as they look into growing their portfolio, getting into bigger contracts, etc., they also get the benefit of L&T's balance sheet, net worth and size, which is significant and important from that point of view. And therefore, what we look at is if we can grow the services portfolio slightly faster, then on a weighted basis, both on revenue as well as on profit, that grows significantly, slightly higher. And that has an effect on the weighted average profitability of L&T, which is good for all of you if you own L&T shares.
So would you have a ratio in mind for services and core business?
I won't want to speculate on such matters right now. So these are part of our strategic plan. We are in the process of doing your 5-year plan, and once we finalize it and the board takes it into cognizance and approves it, we'll come back to you. Because you see, it's a complex situation for us. There's an L&T which does something, and there are listed entities which have their own strategic plans. So we need to understand what their ambitions, aspirations are. And that's the way we work. So it is not that I sit here and Shankaraman sits here and decides what is the next 5 years for those companies. So we work under a complex environment and we look at it from that point of view. But the idea is to push little more into the services side.
I have a small question on LTI. What happens to your requirement to divest a further stake in LTI? Is that on?
LTI is done.
LTI is done?
LTI is
you
done.
Need
Technology services,
okay.
There is still some little bit left, which will get done.
Okay.
All right, open offer, if you can give a little more details, because markets are trading right now, the stock price of Mindtree is lower than what you have offered to pay. So that does not make sense at this point, because you also have incorporated market buyout of shares up to 980 rupees per share. So can you reason why such a trade at this point? Are you buying already? And the timeline for the open offer?
I think we can't buy or trade in that stock until approvals, the regulatory approvals we have filed. the structure of the transaction has three segments to it. The trigger obviously is Siddharth's 20%. And then if you want to gain control over the company, become a significant shareholder, we can make an open offer. And then we can also purchase through market subject to regulatory approvals. So our structure was that if you become 2/3 holder, like L&T Finance, we are 66% shareholders. If you want to reach to 2/3, that's destination. We may not get there, depend on the success of the open offer. The construct was 31% open offer, 15% market, and 20% what we have signed last night. So that's a structure. We don't know as to how much response would be for the open offer. Market dynamics will eventually play out. I guess there could be sections of shareholders who would say, I will stay because a larger group is getting involved. If they believe in our utterances, they will think that there is value upside available in the investment, so let me stay. There could be people who could anticipate there will be a lot of commotion, this noise will take time to settle down, let me exit and get out when I can still have liquidity, could take a view. So I don't know which way it will play out. But our belief is that we should have a path for 66%, which is what we have done. 20 is what we have for sure today, subject to approvals. We'll have to see between 20 and 66 where we land.
So which approvals are required for
competition.
with more, and how much time are you asserting?
Competition Commission is the only approval that we require, and there are some overseas approval on antitrust because these companies work overseas. We do expect somewhere between 30 and 45 days for these approvals to come in because it's relatively two small companies getting together. So it is not expected to upset the market competitive dynamics, as would be the case when large players come together.
And with hardly any market presence in India.
No, it's firm. It's firm. No, that's firm. We are subject to CCI approval, owners of 20 point whatever percentage.
Why did you include an open market buyout option?
You see, if there are, the open offer has a certain timeline, window of 10 days. We do not know whether all responses would come within those 10 days. And it is convention, and merchant bankers normally advise companies which go this path to have an alternate window through direct market purchases. So if somebody misses a 10-day window, which is what is there for open offer, or somebody acquires the share after the record date for the open offer, and if he wants to trade in it, that's a window given for people who want to get in, make some short-term gains if they will, and get out. As far as we are concerned, we just want to look at potential sellers, long-term sellers, short-term sellers.
Right, but open offer, how much of response are you seeing from the investors? Because Mr. Nayak told us this morning that only 4-5% probably will come. Do you concur with that? And why so? Is it only because they don't want to lose those shares which is getting into a bigger group, or it could be also supporting your transaction?
Nisha, we are a highly disciplined company. Once the chairman has said something, that is it.
In that case, if you are holding a 40% stake in the company, then on ratio of consolidation, how will you forward?
See,
going by the chairman's
anything more than 20%, the accounting standards mandate you consolidate. Anything more than 20%. It's deemed significant influence. And 40% is, there's no question. There's no doubt.
Shankaraman, on the whole buyback, as we know, SEBI had rejected it. Then you were in talks with SEBI. There's some certain clarification that you had sought from SEBI. So, what stage is the buyback at this point of time? Any time frame, or is that going to be any new, fresh mode that you would be submitting to SEBI on the whole buyback, and not what you had already opted for?
See, you should understand buyback was pushed back because of internal rules of SEBI did not permit buyback of a group which had financial services in it. We have encouraged SEBI to review the rules, because if you go by the current rules, no conglomerate which has financial services in its fold can ever do a buyback. Is that fair? Is that correct? Is that appropriate? Is the questions we have asked. We are in no hurry that I am not under any compulsion I need to do it today. So we'll wait for them to review. It's a board matter for SEBI. I guess SEBI will at some point in time take this up. And once the grounds are cleared, which permits a participant to come in, we will at that point in time take stock of what is the cash on balance sheet, what is the investment opportunities that is available, and then if it still makes sense for us to go and approach SEBI and reapply, we will.
Then I think you have to get clarified on the SEBI matter because that question has come 2-3 times. As L&T, our standalone debt is just about 10,000 crores, which is 0.17 or 0.18 of our equity. Now, what is publicly stated and is available as per company law is that when you go for buyback, you look at the standalone debt to the company and take it forward. A SEBI internal rule obviously is there, which includes, which makes them include the NBFC that we have L&T Finance's debt also into the consolidation. The NBFCs cannot take deposits. It's under the RBI Act, and therefore we have to go only by borrowing money to lend money. And that there too, the debt of that company is hardly 1:6 when it is permitted to go up to 1:10. And therefore we are conservative in all sense. So we did get into that part of it, but as Shankar said, I think we would get over it. So, ladies and gentlemen, if there's nothing else, a last message to which I request you all to look at significantly. I think this is a company which all of you know. And as I said, it's a company which is known for governance, known for principles, known for value systems, and how we deep dive into ourselves and kick ourselves to have a management practice that's best in class. Last year, if all of you remember, Forbes rated us the best employer in India. And that says a lot about how we manage our employees, our stakeholders, and others, and carry them along. That's been L&T's trademark, that has been L&T's hallmark. And that is what we bring in as our biggest sense of purpose, etc. And this is what we would take it into Mindtree. There would be aberrations as we go forward in such matters, but whatever we do is with dil and pyar, and we would continue to look at it with dil and pyar. And we will continue our dialogue with the management, their personal friends, and this is also to reassure all the employees of Mindtree and L&T, LTI, LTS, LTF and others that this is done with the good objective of a sense of purpose, of moving the company into services, of enhancing shareholder value, of benefiting our stakeholders, and this is done with the good wishes and blessings of all our elders. And we'd like all of you to look at it from that point of view and take it forward with dil and pyar.
All right, that's of course the L&T management on the press conference. Now, 2 or 3 things that stand out, and I would want to get in experts to try and talk about 1 or 2 key points that Shankar Raman responded in a question asked by Sajith as well. But their rationale about how they got into this and what the way ahead could be like. Let's get in experts to talk about this, both from a perspective of Mindtree as well as from a perspective of L&T. Actually, even throw in an L&T Infotech because it seems disconnected right now. Urmil Shah, IDBI Capital, joins us on the phone line for a perspective on Mindtree. Urmil, thanks for taking the time out. I don't know if you got a chance to hear the whole press conference, but you would have been on the call as well. What stood out for you? They are, as of now, talking about keeping both the entities, with an assumption that this deal goes through, of course, that talking of keeping both the entities separate until they reach a particular size.
Right. So, Neeraj, if you see, L&T Group as a whole has always had that philosophy that they do not want the valuation of any of its, companies to get impacted. And, on the call and also in the presser, they have reiterated that in the current state of integration of Mindtree with LTI would have been negative for the LTI shareholders. To that extent, it is good that it has not happened right now. And also, they have said that, while they do not have any time limit in mind, unless and until, either the growth potential for each of these companies have saturated, or they reach a run rate of $5 billion of revenue, they do not see, and they are not in a hurry of a merger eventually. So to that extent, it was quite reassuring.
Yeah, I think, and that's probably a takeaway that a lot of people would have to. Harit Shah of Reliance Securities joins us as well. Before we get to what it means for each of the companies, Harit, your thoughts as well. Again, the same question, both from a perspective of Mindtree shareholder, maybe an LTI shareholder, keep companies separate. I'm going with an assumption that this is going down. L&T is stable. Both companies separate for the foreseeable future. Positive, negative, neutral for Mindtree on various counts.
Yeah, so I think what we can essentially conclude is that for starters, it was obviously a good thing that there is no plan as of now to merge the two companies. It could have potentially been value destructive. What is very important in our view is that the current management should stay with Mindtree. I think clearly they're still holding out against this offer by L&T. So I think that is going to be a very critical thing to observe in the next few days. So if they're able to, come to the table and thrash out some sort of an agreement, then I would view that, more as a positive for Mindtree.
Okay. So, no, but okay. So are you saying, Harit, that your call on Mindtree is conditional to getting knowledge about some of the other factors as well? I mean, Shankar Raman was very candid or very open in his comment about how they have kept these two companies separate for the purposes of minority shareholders, and if the Mindtree existing promoters stroke management team stays put, then there is no need to change anything.
Yes, absolutely. So as I said, that the important thing is that the senior management stays with the company. For a services company, an IT services company, I think we cannot underestimate the importance of stability at the top. So
sure.
That being the case, as long as they're able to come to an agreement, I would definitely look at it in a positive sense.
So Urmil, what would the base call be right now to clients? I mean, the stock is about 1.5% lower. I saw some valuation cuts coming in as well. The management sounded fairly open to all possibilities. At least the L&T management. We'll get to know about Mindtree in a bit at 2:45 p.m. today. But what's the call that you're giving to your clients right now?
Neeraj, we had given yesterday evening itself. We felt that LTI not being there was positive for that stock. Secondly, on Mindtree, we think we need to look at it from a absolute near-term point of view as well as a medium to long-term point of view. Near-term point of view, it's no-brainer that given that there's gonna be a stock purchase through open market as well, and also open offer of a substantial stake being there. One should have a positive bias up to 980 rupees for the stock. And, from a long-term point of view, we believe that, the current valuation of 16 times on FY21 earnings does factor, a kind of premium for the stake sale. They need to get more consistent on the revenue growth front and also improve the EBIT margins. I think L&T is clearly having that stance to improve its growth as well as profitability. So I think from a long-term point of view also, one should have a positive outlook.
Okay. Harit, I just have a follow-up to that. We've seen what L&T, while, when LTI came about, and there was a bit of a lull before which this big move in the stock prices and eventually in the kind of quarterly performances that this company is given. I mean, L&T Tech too in that sense has done. Do you reckon that a well-connected, diversified, large group like L&T might actually be able to do something better for Mindtree as well? Would people be overly skeptical without reason, and maybe this could actually work to the benefit of the minority shareholder as well? How high is that probability?
Yeah, so as I said, I think the fact, you cannot deny the fact that the company has been built by the existing promoters, and if there is any such issues at the top, then I'm not so sure how.
Harit, let me rephrase my question. I'm going with the assumption that there is no change at the top. I take on board the point that if that happens, then it's all gone. My question is, if nothing happens there, then over the course of the next 5 years, would a large company like L&T being the parent would actually work better for Mindtree?
Yeah, so I think it's definitely going to be more on the positive side. They will definitely get access to a great deal of clients and possibly new verticals as well. So I would so if we were to assume that things do eventually work out with the current management, then yes, I would definitely view it positively. In any case, the current team has already created some pretty good value in the last few years. So I think that has already been proved, and if we were to look at from that perspective, then yes, it is definitely a possibility, and it could be a chance that it will be good for the minority shareholders of Mindtree.
Okay, just one final question to each of you. Harit, to you first. How high do you rate the probability of, or what is the probability or chance that this might not go down L&T's way? I don't think the buyback announcement of whatever nature tomorrow can really swing the needle too much, though today some of the papers have reported that large asset managers, and I was looking at the portfolios, really not too many mutual funds which have got very large holding in Mindtree, but nevertheless, that 2 or 3 mutual funds are not in favor of this. What's the chance of this not going down the path that L&T is viewing right now?
I think it's in all probability that L&T does hold the cards more now, I would say, than Mindtree. I don't think that should be a problem. Tomorrow, in any case, the buyback, probably they'll only be able to buy back worth 280 crore or something in that range. So I doubt if that's going to make substantial difference. so I know as of now, at least it appears that L&T does hold the cards in their favor.
And Urmil, same question to you as well. Would you second Harit's view?
Yeah,
Neeraj. In fact, such thing is a difficult guess, but I would rather focus on the thought process of both the parties. So, of course, L&T, I'm confident that they will definitely engage with the founders and directly speak on their perspective as to what they want Mindtree to do in the next 2 to 3 years. I think that should, be good for the kind of comments that have come in. I would regard that, L&T should be able to get the founders and the senior management of Mindtree on the same table.
Well, let's wait and watch. I mean, a couple of 3 times in the press conference, he referred to the current existing team of Mindtree as very good personal friends, and that will continue, so on and so forth. Maybe there could be camaraderie which might come about. But thanks so much, Jamal, both of you, for joining in today and giving us those thoughts. Mindtree is a stock down right now, but Harit, subject to the existing management team staying not too unhappy, Urmil doesn't believe that there is too much of cause for concern, believes that the team will be on board. The stock price telling something otherwise. I'm told that there is a briefing from the Mindtree side as well at 2:45 today, so you'll watch out for that too. But it's a small break that we take right now on Bloomberg Quint. Thanks so much for tuning into this broadcast about L&T and Mindtree. We take a break, come back with Ask PQ.